live.
Let's
Let's go
go
live.
live.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. It's just past 9 a.m. and I'm here with the Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, it's been a minute, and yet again, I feel like every time you go to Saudi, you abandon me, and it hurts my feelings.
Well, this is something that happens between you and I, and we've just got to get over it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going to Saudi to work and abandon you, and unless you get on that plane and come to Saudi with me and all the other troops that head on over for the events at the moment in the Riyadh season, you're going to have those extreme feelings of abandonment because you're missing some of the biggest boxing events on earth.
But the thing is, Gareth, what I will say, and in my defense, is the fact that you always tease it. You always send me this message saying, "Hi, I'm just on my way to Saudi. Let's do something." And then I sit at home just watching you dart about, getting into videos, taking pictures, doing your announcements in this hot weather with your linen attire, having fun while I'm at home in cold UK. And then you'll just pop up saying, "I'm back." I think that's a bit cruel, Gareth.
Is it a little bit, do you feel unrequited in lots of ways? Do you feel like I should be employing you to come with me to film it all?
No. I don't feel that way because that's like a sense of entitlement, and I don't really want to go down that road. But just getting you on a live while you're out in Saudi, that would be good enough for me. I'm not greedy. I'm not one of these hangers on. Yes.
Okay. Well, look, here's a pledge now. Next time, and I was, remarkably, I was staying at the Ritz-Carlton this time in Riyadh, and if you saw any of the videos I did from there,
yeah, I did. Is that the one when you was in this like foyer and it looked really nice and hot while it was pouring down with rain? Yes, I remember it. Yeah.
I must say it was very depressing coming back to the grey and the rain and the cold. And because I do a lot of paddle boarding, and by this time in the year, I've got to say it's been the longest, wettest, annoying winter ever. Because by this time,
quite strange, isn't it?
I've been out paddleboarding for 2 weeks by now. And you just can't get out at the moment. It's very annoying. But I will endeavour to give you one, if not two,
installments.
Installments.
We love it. Good morning to those of you that have just joined us. Boxing Corner Casuals. Let's pop that up on the screen. October, I'm at work, but love the work rate, and we will re-watch later on. I think he meant to say, make sure people like this and help assist out. Thank you very much to Boxing Corner Casuals. Obviously, I've said thank you because I'm polite. Dan the Man, our lovely Dan the Man says, "What's good, people?" And lovely Toby Ringo Bartlett says, "Good morning, Red, GAD, and the team." G Chain, good morning. It's nice to see people up so early. So, Gareth, I know we do our pleasantries because, like I said, we get on really well off camera. Talk to me about last week, and the reason why I keep on saying, can we go live? I just want to get that essence. I want our viewers to get that feel of it out there. But talk to us about the whole week, the lead up. I know that we had a really good fight night. There was arguing between Top Table and fighters in the audience. Fighters were getting it stuck on them at Turkey Al Sheikh's house. So much has gone on, but I want it from the Gareth A. Davies point of view. So the floor is yours.
Well, the thing is, what I'd say is this, October, Red. Now that the full circus is in town in Riyadh, and the lions are circling, they're circling, and they're all there, and they all want to be the king of the jungle. And you rightly mentioned something very important there last week, which is His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, the minister, who's masterminding the funding behind this and investment into it. Every time the fighters come out, he wants them all at his place, and he wants them all in the same room together. And I think that's genius, because in that room with Parker Zhang, with Joseph Parker, Zhilei Zhang, Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou, and Tyson Fury all together on the Tuesday evening, what you had was, if you'd had Deontay Wilder in the room as well and Alexander Usyk in the room, it would have just been one of those moments. I wish they'd got those two in there as well, because Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury didn't even shake hands. They didn't say a word to each other. Tyson Fury had a big go at not Zhile Zhang. No one had a go at Zhile Zhang. At Francis Ngannou. That spilt over into the press conference then, with Tyson Fury in the front row seats on Wednesday, with Ngannou having a massive go back and saying, listen, just be happy and be respectful that the rules of boxing inside the ring protect you. Don't come within 5 meters of me. So he had his go back. I had your ass, all that kind of stuff. The key to all of this is, for years and years, Wilder hasn't been at Joshua's fights. Joshua hasn't been at Wilder's fights. Fury hasn't been at Joshua's fights. They're all in the room together. As I say, the lions are circling. So you get that extra powder keg that's being lit, and that storyline, that narrative all the time that they're around each other. Fury made the press conference by barracking Ngannou at the press conference, and Ngannou coming back at him. Anthony Joshua at that same press conference kept his complete poise and spoke brilliantly of, I've fought Joseph Parker, I've fought Zhile Zhang in the amateurs, I'm fighting Francis now, I'll fight Tyson down the line. The balance of the week was extraordinary. As I say, if Usyk and Wilder had been there as well, the main players from this era just would have been there. And that's what's brilliant about it at the moment. There's that feeling that all our dreams are coming true in terms of the fights that are going to be made. I also hear, and I can just say this, and I'm not saying it in any order, Daniel Dubois, Deontay Wilder, Flip Hrgovic, and Agit Kabayel are also signed to fight in the next couple of months as well. They'll all be in action. So we're going to get Fury and Usyk. We're going to get Anthony Joshua back over there in the front row watching it. Will we get one of those two step aside for one fight for Anthony Joshua to fight the winner for the undisputed? Because it feels like we don't want to wait a year for that at the moment. And the way His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh is, maybe he'll make that happen by giving a step aside, or it seems logical. So the week had this steady burn. The Riyadh season is building, the Boulevard city's building all the time. We were in an amphitheatre in their section of Greece, as in the country, every day, Groundhog Day, back for all the set pieces, and every day it built, every day it got bigger, and in the end the weigh-in was a great atmosphere, and that was a Thursday night. I explored Riad more on a personal level. I went to an art biennale on the Saturday afternoon before the event with my friend Martin, who works out there with his wife, who's French Moroccan. Martin's Irish, and become good friends, and explored that in the afternoon. In Diriyah. It's a beautiful art exhibition. I found a nightclub in Riyadh that was great fun. We had local singers and shishas and steaks, and that was fantastic to find. So just kind of starting to explore the city a little bit more, and just getting a feel that things are being built the whole time. There's this atmosphere of build. There's an atmosphere of enormous growth in the place, and I'm just mentioning the heavyweights there, and Zhile Zhang and Joseph Parker were an absolute pleasure to be around. Zhile Zhang a little bit, had a little Chinese chat to Zhang, sat down. God, he's a big man, 20 stone 11 pounds. I thought he drew with Joseph Parker, by the way.
Did you?
I scored it a draw. It was very close. Great pleasure to be around those two men. Big fans of both of them. Big fan of both of them. And, just the great storylines that came out of it. How Mark Chamberlain came to fight on the cards. When I got my hair cut yesterday for this appearance by my Japanese hairdresser in the salon in North London, the Louis Green's stepbrother,
Okay. Yeah.
was in. He's a hairdresser, and then he was having a chat about Louis' dramatic performance knocking out Jack McGann. I'm rambling here, but the only other thing I want to mention is well done, Joseph Parker, on his resilience in that fight. And finally, I thought Nick Ball clearly won against Ray Vargas, 114, 112. Lost. It was a fight of two halves and two heights, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And I thought Vargas won the first six, and I thought Ball won the last six. But Ball knocked him down twice, so that makes him a 2-point winner for me. But they'll roll it back and do it again, as will Zhang and Parker. But the monstrosity that is Anthony Joshua, I gave 4 outcomes for the fight.
Talk to us about that, because we're going to touch on that. Go on.
I gave 4 outcomes for the fight because I could see it going 4 ways. An early stoppage for Joshua, a late stoppage for Joshua on points, or Ngannou catching him at some point. But it was emphatic, masterful, destructive, relentless. It had poise and power. And I do think that Anthony Joshua is mentally and physically, well, he was always there physically, but he's mentally back, and his arcing warrior spirit is now telling his body what to do properly, and his brain and his body are properly engaged. He might lose a couple, he might win another 5, he might lose 2, he might beat everyone, he might not beat Usyk again, he might get outboxed by Fury, but he's at least delivering what he is now. And as George Foreman said about him to me ages ago, he's got to know what he is, just recognize what he is, which is a big, destructive fighter. And he now knows what he is. Yeah.
I like what you said there, and why not start at the top and move our way down to the bottom. If you've just joined us, welcome. I'm joined by the lovely Gareth A. Davies. You know, he's a real reporter, and I'm his young grasshopper, joining in on the ride of talking about boxing. And he's quirky, and I like him, and I don't care, because I like quirky people. Because guess what? If you know me, I'm just as quirky as Gareth.
Oh, you're well
I just
on the
don't
quirk
ask people.
spectrum.
Yeah, I know, but it's
Spectrum.
I am. But I wouldn't ask people if they've showered before a fight. I might think it.
Would I?
But I definitely
would. I,
Gareth, that will go down in history. But would you? Probably not. No. Anyway, if you was a boxer, yeah, you would.
No, depends who I'm fighting.
I just know you wouldn't.
Depends who I'm
You'd probably try and rub their head in your armpit or something.
Yeah, and then crush it.
But you know what? We've got it here, and I'm going to start here. Toby Ringirl Bartlett, he has said, some people, especially in America, think Ngannou took a dive because he's taken bigger blows to the head in mixed martial arts. Gareth, can we have your thoughts on that? And I've seen this, and personally, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I've seen the Twitter, the X feeds, the memes. I'm like, what? But Gareth,
I think there's a lot of defence for Francis in America from the MMA world, from the mixed martial arts world. They don't want to believe that their champion got poleaxed, got punched and then dropped like clothes being dropped into a suitcase, which he was at the end. I mean, he absolutely.
Sorry. I did say folded.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, but he did. He made the mistake of turning southpaw, which allowed Anthony Joshua a kind of schoolboy error in that first round, but for no reason other than he's learned to turn southpaw, but it didn't make any sense in the fight at the time. And he was doing really well in that first round with Joshua.
He was.
Yeah.
I agree. And it's...
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on, Gareth.
I thought you were trying to come in and say something. Yeah, but that was a mistake because you look back in the first minute and a half, and he was doing really well. And Joshua did have a tentativeness about him, as did Ngannou. They were kind of fencing and feeling each other out. But as soon as he turned southpaw, and he clearly, I haven't had a chance to speak to Ben Davison about this yet and Lee Wiley, but they clearly said if he turned southpaw early, hit him with a long shot down the pipe and just with your right hand, and bang, he was into the fight. And as you know, it's all about momentum in everything, really. Momentum is everything. And in every contest, every sporting contest and every fight. Once he did that, and Ngannou was down, kind of wobbling down, off balance in some ways, it was Joshua's fight and just waited for his moment. That big overhand right that came from, let me get this right, from here all the way to there will be a viral reel forever.
I can see it as a picture in gyms.
Oh, I just think it's going to be iconic in the book.
Yeah.
And to answer that original question, I think there's a defense from the MMA world over why Ngannou was so poor, given how good he was against Tyson Fury. And I think, here's what I think: with gloves, you actually hit harder than you do with 4-ounce gloves, because the sweet spot is bigger on the glove. It's not huge, but it's bigger on the glove than it is when you're throwing with your knuckles and your fist. Because 4-ounce gloves, you also do more damage to your hands, don't you, with those? So you can. I just think Joshua. Yes, Ngannou hasn't been hit, but he hasn't been hit by someone that's got him in a position where they can hit him exactly how they want to. I mean, I remember the fight between Ngannou and Derek Lewis, where they threw 19 punches or 19 strikes at each other in 15 minutes because there was a real standoff. It's a different sport. Punches land differently. It's bare feet. It's not boots on canvas. So there's lots of different factors. MMA fighters strike differently. They're not boxers. The pure art is punching and footwork, isn't it? And rotation and balance and everything that Joshua did in that fight. Ngannou felt his full power. We've never seen Joshua hit, well, not until early in his career when he could almost punch guys at will. And this is the Mark III version of Anthony Joshua.
Mark III.
It definitely knows his game plan, believes in himself. He's a maturer fighter now. He knows what it is to be the champion. He knows what it is to lose all that as well. So he knows how valuable it is. Until we gain things in life. We have our moments where we gain things. We succeed in things. We find things. We fall in love with people and things. They become part of us. And then sometimes we lose them. We don't want to know what it's like till we lose them. The actual feeling, like pain. To get it back is something special, and that's where he is. He's got it back. It wouldn't surprise me to see him become a 3-time world champion. It's a different fight against Tyson Fury. Styles make fight. It's a different fight, 3rd time against Usyk. But I believe in what Ben Davison's saying, and I've thought that myself, that a 3rd fight for Joshua against Usyk, he really does have a great opportunity to put the record straight. Because I had him 5-4 up in the 2nd fight. It's just that last quarter. And now he needs to walk through the pain against Usyk and defeat him. I still think Fury beats Joshua. I think Fury beats Usyk, a good Fury at the top of his form. But my word, I'm really looking forward to seeing both contests.
When we talk about, you've touched on something there, Gareth, which is, Anthony Joshua has made it quite clear. He said, look, the opponents that he's matched with Fury, you can say time, space are different, etc. But he's knocked them out. He's made that quite clear. You've sort of like said, if we get that good Fury, if we get, that fighter Fury, the boxer Fury that we know, he stands a very good chance, obviously, with Joshua, and obviously his impending bout with Usyk. Fighters change. Like you said, Anthony Joshua's had the experience of being a world champion, like losing, getting that back, losing again, and literally kind of like back to basics with himself to build that complete fighter, that fighter that he's always wanted to be, that all-round guy. He's often spoke about it. If you put all of the stuff that he said together, Fury hasn't had that taste, albeit it was a bit touch and go with Francis Ngannou. He hasn't really had that taste of loss. What makes you still convinced? And I'm sitting on the fence with this because I'm not scoring anyone and saying anyone's going to win. But what makes you convinced that Tyson Fury will beat this Mark III Anthony Joshua?
All right, Splinter
I will
Bomb.
get back to the chat in a minute, guys. Sorry, yeah, it's a question, and why wouldn't I ask? Come on, Gareth.
No, I said Splinter Bomb because you're sitting on the fence.
Oh, Splinter Bomb, yeah.
Yeah,
I like Splinter.
look, if you judge by last performances, you'd say that Joshua was the favourite. And they both fought the same guy, haven't they? So, you know, that's why it's very, very exciting now to think of the prospect of these two guys fighting. And also why we don't really want to wait a year for that to happen. And we don't necessarily want Fury to go through 2 fights with Usyk before he fights Joshua, because I still think Fury's in his prime, just at the end of his prime. And I think, why do I think? Because Fury is elusive. He's got the head moves. He's not an easy target. He will. Joshua is now going to. The other thing, of course, is Ben Davison going to train him for Fury? And he hasn't answered the question yet. Yeah.
And that question is becoming more apparent as time goes on. So yeah, I'm sure he will have to answer it one day.
I think he will, and I hope he does, and he should. It's sport at the end of the day. It's not, you know, it's not, and it is life and death in some ways, but it is sport. And I hope he does, because we want the best Joshua against the best Tyson Fury. Now, Tyson Fury's obviously got to come through Alexander Usyk first, and I think, you know, it's a very intriguing boxing match. I think it might well be very close, because Usyk's smart, but there may be a game plan from Fury to put it on him. But we're talking about Fury and Joshua here particularly, aren't we? I just think that Fury's style. Remember, we didn't. When you see Joshua's hittable, okay, not by Ngannou in those 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes in Riyadh last Friday, but you've got to think that he is going to get landed on by Usyk, by Fury at some point. So I just see Fury's movement bamboozling Joshua. But if Joshua comes hard, I think he's got to be aggressive in the fight against Fury if he's to win it. It's a much closer fight now than it was, based on what we've seen from them in recent times. And you're right, fighter styles change. Look at Muhammad Ali, the flat-footed Muhammad Ali that fought Joe Frazier in '75 in the Thriller in Manila. In the heat of the Philippines, they barely moved. They stood and slugged it out for the championship of each other, as it was called, as some of the great old writers have called it. You know, it really was the championship of each other, and it was a Ward Gatti type affair. It was a we're just trading. The early Ali moved like a featherweight, you know, speed of a middleweight, footwork of a featherweight. That's that dancing, bouncing Ali. Fury isn't that anymore,
No.
and he doesn't move quite as much. He has slowed down, but he's still got the feints and the head movement, and ties fighters up. And he's an awkward fighter, telescopic arms, reach advantages. He's got those things over Usyk as well, which is why I pick him to win them, just based on how good he is when he needs to be that good. You know, when you look back on the Ngannou performance now, it's a huge anomaly, and you have to conclude that he didn't anticipate Ngannou being as good as he was on the day, you know, and you know, I always said that Ngannou would be dangerous. I keep getting his name wrong. Ngannou would be dangerous for 10 minutes. And so he proved. And then he got his feel in the fight. And, you know, it's a wake-up call for Fury. You could tell that he was really in shape, ready for Usyk before the eye was cut. So, look, I think the point is, a year ago, 8 months ago, we didn't have this scenario. Excuse me. And by May the 18th, truly we'll have seen in 1, 2, 3, is it 4 heavyweight events in Riyadh? Well, in 4 heavyweight events, we will have seen an amazing shake-up of the division and a super league created. Have you watched the Netflix doc Battle of the Baddest yet?
No, I haven't.
You should watch it. There's a doc being made about all these 4 events, and so many things have happened in them, and it's brilliant that they're being documented, because this will go down as a very special period in history, like the Rumble in the Jungle. That 70s,
oh yeah, 100%.
71, 74, 75, with Ali, Frazier, and Foreman. This is that period for us. No question, it's that period.
Do you think, though, Gareth, as boxing fans, that Tyson Fury has come out and said he trained for Ngannou, he doesn't want to make any excuses? You know, he just didn't have the performance that he wanted, and the public's kind of like, yeah, said, you know, fair enough, yeah. It was split. It was kind of like Ngannou's like this superhero. He's going to be a problem for absolutely everyone. And then all people are like saying, looking at Fury and saying, nah, I just don't think he trained for that. He couldn't have trained. He would have been better. But then Anthony Joshua goes in and dispatches him quite early. And it's like, oh, well, Ngannou wasn't really that good. I mean, AJ's a boxer. That's what AJ's supposed to do. And it's almost, and this is me sitting from the, yeah, but it's like me sitting from the outside. It's almost like Anthony Joshua never really gets the credit he deserves. It's always like there's backhanded compliments.
No, I think he's getting massive. I don't agree. I think he's getting massive credit at the moment for what he did against.
Yeah, because that's the hype train. But there are the undertones. The undertones are there, like saying, well, you know, Ngannou is an MMA fighter. What did you expect? And then, like you said, you know, we've got people in the comments even saying, oh, it was staged. He took a dive, you know, making videos, doing the slow-mo analytics. And it's like, oh my God, can you just not say he had a really good performance and he dispatched this guy that everyone was, myself included, was on sort of like a hype train of his invincibility. I said Anthony Joshua would stop him, but I did not think he'd dispatch him that early. Because I was sort of like thinking, oh, this is going to be a really tough fight. And Ngannou, you could hit him with a hammer and he won't go down. It's, you know, you have to take a shotgun to this fight. No.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua went in there, was prepared to take the shots. You talk about aggressiveness. He's now prepared to go in there when before he'd be like, you could see he's like, he doesn't really want to get hit. He'd like, move back. His head moves all funny. But now he's willing to take the shots. He's willing to take the shots. And Tyson Fury had said, I hit him with absolutely everything I had and he wouldn't go down. So Anthony Joshua, in his head, he's aware of that toughness, but he still goes in there and still doesn't back up like he used to.
Yeah, I mean,
is that me? I'm looking at it from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always critical of Anthony Joshua because we always want more, and I say that with professional respect, because he is that good and he can be that good. He technically knows he's not, as I just said earlier, I think he's a destructive fighter and a great finisher. I think he's as good a finisher as Lennox Lewis was. And Lennox was a very, very good finisher. And that right-hand punch reminded me of how Lennox finished people. You know, when he knows that they're tiring and fatigued and he sees the opening in the door and he just smashes the door down with a big axe. And I think, you know, I'm celebrating the fact that Joshua's back. I mean, he's been very destructive for the last 7 rounds he's fought. He's not standing on the back foot. He's not up against an awkward opponent, but he will be with Usyk and Fury.
100%. No
But
doubt.
but go out there, AJ, and stick it on them. Go and stick it on them. Go and go. But remember that when you're caught by punches you don't see coming, which he did in the first fight with Usyk at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it dismays you it dismays your brain. It makes you think differently, because no one wants to be hit, do they? But the whole
Correct, yeah.
art is to not be hit. And so if you're not hit and you're hitting, you dominate. That's what happens in a fight. So, and that's what he's done. He's dominated 7 rounds that he's been in his last 2 fights, and he's looked amazing doing it. And I've got to say, sitting with him on the day of the press conference on Wednesday with a group of, say, 3 or 4 others with in his dressing room before he came out, he was great to speak to. He was so composed all week. And yes, of course, he will have had a few nerves. And I did feel nerves for him in the first minute or two of that fight, because they were dancing, bouncing, and you're thinking, don't get hit early by Ngannou here, because clearly it looked to me like Ngannou was going to explode early in the fight and wanted to have the fight early, because it was all about whether he could land on Joshua. And Joshua did everything right, didn't let him. It's as simple as that. He controlled the big beast. He did do what he was meant to do. Fury didn't do what he was meant to do, but that's how it played out. They made a player on the night. And maybe that, where does Ngannou go now? We don't know. Maybe he goes back to MMA. Maybe he fights Wilder. Maybe, we don't really know. It might have played its course. But what's been brilliant is it's created a fire in the heavyweight division. He's earned $20 million. He never earned what he probably should have earned in the UFC. He is an amazing storyline. There's no question about that. We were all right to hype his story, because it's a story of extraordinary, epic nature in terms of what he did. The journey through 3 African countries, through the Sahara, 6 times on a dinghy to try to get from Morocco to Spain. He can't even swim. Arrested as an illegal immigrant, living in the forests, living on the streets of Paris, finding an MMA gym, sleeping in the gym, sleeping in car parks in Paris, going to Vegas and becoming a UFC heavyweight champ. They're extraordinary achievements. So all we're doing when we're hyping him in that way is celebrating an African man's life out of poverty and privation into an example for other people. France is I've been fortunate enough to sit with him on my own 3 or 4 times, and I know his team, and Dewey Cooper and Eric and John Mbomba, and his strength and conditioning guys, and his physio. I know the whole team. They're a great group of people, and they're very honest in what they do. And they'll be very disappointed with what happened in the Rumble in Riyadh, where there really was, at the end of it, knockout chaos, Abs.
It definitely was, and we can talk about that, but I've got to. And TP is one of our viewers, and he's from New Zealand. So good morning to you, TPs. I think it's probably, obviously, I don't know, what is it? About 9:30, something to 10 at night. So good morning to you. He said that obviously Joseph Parker did them really proud. They're really proud of what Joseph Parker did. The fact that he was able to come off the floor twice. I found Zhang's performance quite strange, because he just seemed to stop halfway through. It was almost like there was, when the battery just goes out and it's just there, but it's not really powering anything to do anything. It was very strange. Even his corner, even Sean was shouting at him, "Listen, you've got to get a knockout. You've got to go out there and get the knockout." And he's like, "Are you listening to me?" And he was like, "Yes." But it was like he was paused in time. Gareth, you were there. What did you see? I mean, you're saying it's a draw, but I understand why they gave it to Parker, but you were there.
Yeah, I was sitting at that point. Luckily, I had a seat in the VIPs, believe it or not, behind Tyson and Paris and Frank, Eddie, and His Excellence.
Deserved.
No, I just had a seat there, but I also had a desk that I was writing at, and what I'm saying is I watched it from that side, and I had Tommy Lane sitting next to me as manager, and I'm a big, as I say, I would say I'm a friend of Joseph's. I've known him a long time. We've always gotten very well. You know what he's like. He's a phenomenal
He's
human
lovely.
being. Yeah, and he's just having his 5th child, by the way. His son. It's 4
Oh,
girls and a boy
wow.
now.
Oh, he
4
got the
girls.
boy in the end.
Okay. I'm not sure. I think his son's being born probably next week. But 4 girls and a boy
Yeah, as
now.
soon as he goes home, she's up the duff, ain't she? Yeah.
Well, that's one way of putting it. Very romantic. Very, very romantic, Abz, this morning. You think about, look, for 4 or 5 rounds, Zhang was walking him down, busted his nose in the 3rd, had him down twice. So I had Zhang about 4 rounds up going into the last 4. Yeah. If you count the 2 knockdowns. But like you say, then it looked like his battery was very depleted in those last 4 rounds. I don't think he landed on the stats a punch in the 12th round, which was very odd. I do buy the fact that he thought he was ahead, but he lost himself, and Joe stole that fight in the last 4 rounds. As I said, I've scored it a draw. I'm happy I have. Their fight again. I was happy for Parker to win it. On the judges, in the judges' eyes, he was winning. Certainly won those last 4 rounds anyway, because Zhang barely did a thing. And for me, all Zhang needed to do was win a round or 2 towards the end, and he'd won it clear. I don't have any pets. I've got a Nepalese. Let me see if he's here.
A Nepal.
I've got a white Nepalese pheasant.
A pheasant?
Yeah.
Is that for Christmas dinner?
No, that lives in. No, I feed it. Is it TP, the New Zealander?
Yes.
I'm just answering his question. I used to have a Rottweiler, but he's gone now.
Sorry to hear that.
The truth is, I do so much traveling. I haven't really got any pets now, and it's just too much of a hassle. But I've just got a few animals that live out in the paddock. I've just got loads of birds and squirrels and stuff. But I say they're pets. I feed them all. But the Nepalese pheasant, he's not here this morning. He's round up in the trees.
Grant has put something in there. Good morning. What's Gareth's view on Ngannou tossing with Chisora? What happened there? I clearly missed that.
I missed that as well. I'm sure that's down to Derek. Probably getting in.
Derek.
I didn't see it, if I'm honest. Maybe Derek's looking for a fight, to get a fight sorted with Ngannou. I didn't see it. Well spotted, Grant. Can you just tap the answer of where that happened? Was it after the fight, during the fight week?
I don't know about that.
Google it as well.
He doesn't. That's a bit naughty. Surprise dodo bird, which is obviously not his real name, says, I reckon GAD calls up YouTubers begging for interviews. That's not very nice. Gareth and I get on really, really well.
I do regular ones I do one a week with Boxing King Media, yourself, IFL, and Boxing Social. That's it. It's just a regular thing.
That answers your question.
Yeah, I don't beg.
Right. No. Is GAD or any of the TalkSport team covering Dillian White's fight on Sunday? And that's a really good question. Hopefully, I'll be getting Dillian White on the channel soon as well, so I'll stay tuned for that. We're arranging something as we speak.
Yeah, I'm presenting from the studio on Saturday night at TalkSport, and we're going to be across that. I've spoken.
Oh, brilliant!
Derek Chisora gives heartfelt speech to Francis Ngannou. Derek Chisora gives
there's nothing on there.
No, I don't remember that anyway. But I literally jumped on a flight. Excuse me. Yes, we are covering it. Dillian fighting Christian Hammer in Germany, of course. And when you look down the list of people that Hammer has fought and lost to,
Irish.
you know, the likes of
He's got a good
Pavetta,
resume.
Fury,
Mm.
God, there's loads of them who he's fought. He's Joe Joyce. It's if Dillian, well, both Joe Joyce and Dillian. Joe Joyce obviously fighting in Birmingham against Cash Ali. Don't write Cash Ali off completely, by the way, but I see Joe Joyce a big favourite in that fight. A big statement victory for him, or a big statement victory for Dillian White in Ireland, puts those two. They'd be two great figures to move into that Super League
Interesting.
Saudi Arabia at the moment. Oh no, I think they're
Mm.
both their next Anthony Joshua opponent, Dillian White, if he wins at the weekend.
Somebody mentioned that, and I thought, why would he do that if he's trying to stay in line to becoming ×3 world champion? Wouldn't he
He's
go
got
down the
to wait,
Hergovich route?
but if he's got to wait for
Okay.
2 fights, he's got to stay active. And my belief is Parker and Zhang are busy because they've got a rematch. And here's what I'm going to say. I'm suggesting I know Deontay Wilder, Agit Kabayel, Daniel Dubois, and who's the other one? Flip Hergovich are all going to be busy, so that they're not going to be available. So Dillian White, come on, he'd love it. He'd really fancy doing a number on Dillian White at the moment, and Dillian White would be up for a fight with him. Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, hopefully I'm going to try and get Frank Smith on the channel in the next couple of days and discuss possible outcomes for that. I know
Who
that
was the guy you had on yesterday, or have you got on this afternoon? Can I plug that for you?
Who's what? Sorry.
It was on your Instagram earlier on your story.
Oh right, yeah, it's American boxing channel called Blue Blood Sport. So I'll be going live with them from 7:30 p.m. tonight.
Is that good?
The US. Well, they've got quite a few subscribers. Obviously, they're the American voice, very well known in America for like the boxing YouTube outlet. So yeah, I think it's really good. We've been speaking via direct message on Instagram for some time, and we said, you know what, let's do this. I think there's a lot of perception about the UK as in culture wise that he will self-admit, say he didn't like realize stuff about the UK, and he's starting to appreciate our side of the pond, one for a better word. So what a better way to do that than to collaborate? I'm always up for a good collaboration, you know? But yeah, something that somebody's commented in here, and to be fair, I don't, and I hope you're not trolling because it's not nice to troll about things. Lucas, is it Balshunas?
Looks like.
Forgive me for the pronunciation. I'm a gay Lithuanian man, and I want to see gay men in boxing. Gay men are being rejected in the boxing gyms, and it's discrimination. Gay men will bring popularity to the sport. Lucas, and I will say there's probably there may be gay boxers that just haven't come out. You do have that because of the discrimination that they face. Your sexuality is something that you can mask. Unfortunately, with the other strands of diversity, it's not usually that easy to mask. But I think there may be like gay people in the sport. I don't know, Gareth. You've been covering it a lot longer than me, and it's a fair comment. I just hope you're not trolling, Gareth. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just very simply, I mean, there were some very famous gay boxers in the past who were
Educate Lucas.
Emil Griffith, and there have been others who haven't come out as well, I imagine. But it's, the world's very open now, and, you'd hope that, as rugby did when Gareth Thomas, the Welsh player, came
Yeah, I
out, you'd
remember
hope
that.
boxing would unite behind someone being that way. But it is a caveman sport in lots of ways, and I suppose there would be people reacting in negative ways, but it shouldn't be the case. Listen, I'm sure there's loads of gay fans of the sport as well. There's gay sportsmen in every sport, and it's time to accept that that's just the way people are.
Yeah, sexuality to me shouldn't come into it. It's your credibility. It's what you can do in the sport. But one thing I don't agree with is the discrimination side of it. But yeah, it's one of them. Listen, Gareth, can you let us know what you're doing? Let us know what your plans are for the weekend. You've mentioned Talksport, and the fact that somebody's actually covering Dillian White's fight is refreshing to hear, because I've tried to ask him, how can I watch it? And he didn't know. So
Yeah, no,
let us know what you're doing this weekend.
yeah, we'll be across it. I think, is Thomas Carty on the card as well or not?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Thomas Carty. I saw Thomas the other day. Weirdly, he was sparring with Anthony Joshua, and he'd obviously been in camp with Tyson Fury in Riyadh. Was the last guy to box him before the Croatian, who hit Tyson with the elbow that cut his eye. Yeah, we'll just be across it in the studio. I'm not sure who's on with myself.
Okay.
But we'll be across it, like we will be across the event in Birmingham that you'll be at in Birmingham.
Really looking for Birmingham, hometown Birmingham. I can't wait.
Birmingham, in lovely
I'm looking forward
Birmingham.
to seeing Frank today, Frank Warren.
Yeah,
He's so witty. He's so
72,
sharp.
legend in the sport, really is. I mean, look, it's great. Like I said to you earlier, to have Tyson Fury, Paris Fury, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, His Excellency. There's Cornell XX1. Emil Griffith led a double life throughout his career. Well, he had to. At the time, there was a lot of people who were very, very anti-gay at the time. There's always been gay men and women in life. It stands to reason, and they should be allowed to be themselves. Simple as that. Where was I? Yeah, with Frank is a legend, and it's great to see him working with Eddie Hearn at the moment. They'll be rivals again. They're still rivals. But
Can't wait for that 5x5.
Yeah, I thought they were going to announce a few bits from that, but they haven't so far. Can I cap us in 5 more minutes?
You can cap us now. That's why I was wrapping up.
So this weekend I'm doing that. I've got my podcast. My podcast 2 with Gary Stretch is now out.
Okay.
Oh, it's Sunday night. Do you know, I hadn't realised that, Toby. Thank you very much.
It's Sunday night in Ireland.
Oh, I didn't know it was Sunday night.
So that's what I mean. We're not going to get any bloody coverage, are we?
I know it's on the schedule to talk about.
It's definitely. All right then. Okay.
We're going to talk about it, is what I mean. I thought it was. Thanks for pointing that out. I hadn't even got to that yet. JD Dyer. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Bartlett. Where were we?
Yeah, you're talking about your schedule. You've got a podcast out with
Gary Stretch, who I'm doing a movie with later in the summer, playing a gold-toothed tattooed gypsy. Yeah.
So you're into acting now?
I've done a bit of acting before anyway, but I'm doing a bigger movie, filming in Bulgaria in the summer with Gary Stretch. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's an action movie. Yeah.
Well, Gareth's clearly very busy and stretching his talents far and wide. Listen, you guys have been absolutely. I love this guy. I've got to stop saying that because then it's bias. AP Gary Stretch was my name in my old career. One day, AP, you're gonna have to show your face.
What does he mean by that?
He's a faceless commenter. Well,
what does he mean?
If he wants to put it in the comments, he can. But you're going to have to be quick because we're going to wrap up. Gareth, as per usual, it's a pleasure. I like to say we need to do this more often, but then you keep jetting off because you've got more important things to do. And yeah, that's you, isn't it, Gareth? But guys, thank you so much for joining our live. No doubt we'll do it again. Tune in to Talksport where you'll find Gareth doing his weird and wonderful things, but more importantly, his journalistic punditry and interviews. And yeah, you know what we say at October Red. Stay ready. Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. Adios.